Kvaratskhelia steadying himself! A star in the making. And there's the only goal! Sabiri with it! After 11 years, once again, Milan are the champions of Italy.
Ciao ragazzi, welcome to another edition of Serie, Sitdown, World Football Index's podcast for your Calcio to go. Frank Crivello here, Richard Carmen here too. Ciao, Richard.
How are we doing?
We're good. How
I'm
are
back.
you doing?
I'm back. I'm better. I'm a lot better. I am a lot better. Last week, just before we went on air, I just started seeing blurry, and I'm like, "What the heck's going on?" Went in the mirror, and I've got pink eye. I'm like, "Oh, great." So, but I'm recovered. I'm recovering. I can see now, so that's good. Trending upward.
Well, good to have you. Good to have you back.
Unlike Milan, I'm trending upward.
Oh, mercy. Is there anybody trending upward in Serie except Napoli these days? Maybe Bologna.
Yeah. New manager, absolutely. Mota.
Yeah, Thiago Motta's got that thing going, doesn't he?
Yeah.
So it was an interesting weekend. Lots that went on in match week 21. We're going to break it all down. You have a shout out you want to give to a new friend of ours.
Before I do that, first off, give a shout out to all those Napoli heads I met up in New York City. That was
awesome.
Turnout, great turnout there.
Yeah.
Our friends, the Napoli Rant, and a bunch of other podcasts that we know and people that we know that follow Napoli, they were all there. It was awesome to see. Also, all the Milan clubs meet up in Boston for the Paramount Plus showing today. That was awesome to see as well. But my main shout out is going to be for Alfredo. He runs Azzurri TV on YouTube. Go give him a like, go give him a subscribe. Puts up some good content. He just started out, but he put out some missing some transfers that happened that maybe under the radar of most people. We covered them all here, but
we missed one of the one that he covered, but we covered some of the other ones. Yeah,
Eldor, who went from Roma to Spezia. We didn't get that one, but we got Tovan to Udinese, Ilic to Torino, and as well Brecalo to Fiorentina. But yeah, check him out. Puts great content out. So shout out to Alfredo. But yeah, that's my shout outs for today, Frank.
Okay, well, cool. I want to give a shout out to Martino Puccio for coming in last minute relief last week while Richard was down for the count. So and helped. I thought we had a very good exchanging of ideas and conversation with some of the things that are going on in Serie at the time last week. George is in the house. Anthony's in the house. Please drop in the chat. What are you drinking tonight? That's what we want to know. A little bit of Bourbon X. What's that?
Should be hard. It should be something hard, something liquor, but I'm drinking water.
I'm going to say a little bourbon. A little bourbon found its way into my 7-Up, so I can't lie. So
well, Milan is blue, so yeah, it would make sense that we'd be drinking hard liquor this evening, right? But it is what it is.
Sad drink of some Bullet and 7-Up.
Yeah.
Just to kind of take away the pain. So Napoli fans need to stop asking for help. You guys won the Scudetto. You don't need help. It's looking that way.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask Louis van Gaal if things are still mathematically possible. You got to get him to say mathematically first. But
first step.
Oh, man. So we're just trying to find a little bit of humor in everything that went on with our day today. You all know that Richard and I are Milanisti, but we will be objective about what went down in the Milan derby that took place, Richard. 1-0 to Inter. Where do you want to start this conversation? I mean,
well, let me drop a bomb first. So, in my opinion, this derby, which usually has ups and downs throughout the years, probably the last 10 years, more downs than ups. I thought, and this is my opinion only, that this derby was the worst game of the day and arguably the worst game of the weekend.
I won't fight you on that. And then as it goes with derbies, it might have been one of the worst derbies it might have been one of the worst Milan derbies of the last 10 years. I think there was
certainly from a loss perspective.
Wasn't it the 0-0 with Pippo Inzaghi, and I want to say, was it Stramaccioni at the time, or was it Ranieri, or I can't remember who was at Inter at the time, but I know it was Pippo Inzaghi. It was a 0-0 draw, and it was just absolutely lifeless. I mean, more lifeless than this game.
Gattuso, he was in one of those too, really bad, where he was a manager.
Gattuso lost a lot of derbies. I don't even think he won one.
Yeah, no.
Which, by the way, Valencia sacked him.
Yeah, I saw that.
Early last week, and some people were saying, "Yeah, Gattuso's available." And they're like, "Yeah, we're good." I mean,
and they're done that.
Gattuso has a special place in my heart between what he's done, what he did for Milan, and what he did for the Italian national team. But as a manager, I think he's exhausted all of his options at this point.
Yeah.
So
we're birthday buddies, but he's still not
birthday twins, aren't you?
Yeah.
How about that?
That's
you guys have the same beard almost, except his is a little grayer. But he's been
fuller. Mine's patchy and whatever, but
he's been in some managerial positions where he's in some of those grays. So I mean, Crete and
Milan.
I think I had a friend actually send me a GIF. I had suggested something, and then he responded with a GIF, and it was Gattuso when he was at Crete, and he goes, "Sometimes good, sometimes shit."
Yep, classic.
Yep, this whole derby was shit today. Let's start with the Inter side because I think this is the easy side right now to talk about, and it's not because we're Milan supporters, when we're trying to have a bias or any of this stuff, but genuinely speaking, Richard, I mean, you can pretty much sum up Inter's performance in they just took what Milan gave them and got on with their day. I mean, that's really what happened here, and a 1-0 victory for them.
It was basically like one team showed up for the derby and the other one didn't. And it was basically a training practice for them where, I mean, obviously, I thought the hungriest guys on the pitch were Lautaro and Dzeko because they backtracked like nobody's business. But Inter looked comfortable. They looked like they were ready for the derby. The Tifos were ready, but Milan not so much. And like you said, they played to what Milan gave them, and Milan gave them a lot, and Inter took advantage of it, and especially the set pieces and some of those crosses in as well. So, yeah, not that great of a performance for the Rossoneri, but hey, someone had to win it. I know Interisi are happy this evening, obviously for obvious reasons, but when a derby like this, you want two teams to show up typically, and only one team really showed up. It was a training practice for them.
Yep, I'm going to say that Lautaro Martinez was the man of the match here. I think he was the liveliest player on the pitch, to your point, scored the goal, which has nothing to do with him being the man of the match. He created the most out of both teams combined, really. And here's the thing with Lautaro Martinez, and here's the gripe that I've always had about him. In game environments like this for a long time, and Inter fans can agree with me or can't agree with me, whatever. But when game environments where Inter are possession dominant, it has long been a struggle for Lautaro, in my opinion. Okay, when the spaces tighten up and the chances are a little more, it just seems like the chances are there. There's more. The chances are in abundance for him, and he overthinks it. And balls go over the bar, they go wide, and he's not as sharp as he normally is. I think I've seen over the last couple of games between this and the Cremonese game, I'm seeing a shift in that. Okay, and that you can trust him, in those moments, and he's starting to get more clinical. He's starting to finish more. He's starting to become a more dangerous striker in those environments. I always loved him when Inter have to counter.
Yeah,
you give him spaces, and you let him use his pace, and you let him use especially his first 10 steps and his change of speed, and boom, and he's gone, and forget it. You don't have a chance. But when for a long time here, when things tightened up in games where Inter had more of the ball, it was harder for him. Okay, but I think I've seen some sample here in these last couple of games now. This one, and then Cremonese, because let's face it, Cremonese didn't want the ball either. Yeah. And Lautaro won. Let me tell you about Lautaro's substitute appearance in that final against France. Lautaro should have scored 5 goals in that substitute appearance against France. He had so many wide open chances in the little time that he played.
But winning does something, though. Winning does something to you.
Yep. Winning does something to you, and it kind of, it makes you hungry. It makes you hungrier to figure out where you're going wrong. You're seeing with Lautaro Martinez, you're seeing a maturity with this young man that probably wasn't there before.
I agree with you, and I disagree with you to an extent. So I agree with everything you just said there. I will say this. Lautaro is a streaky striker, and he's getting better at it, we think. But he'll go on these hot streaks where he'll score for 7-10 games in a row, like fantastic goals. Everything is a goal for him. and then he'll go on for months on a cold streak where he can't score for the life of him.
Yeah.
I agree that when the spaces are tight, he finds it hard to score in. But on the flip side, whenever the derby comes around, he seems to do well in the derbies. For some reason, he feasts on that passion, point. And he's excellent. He's a Milan killer, right? Joaquin Correa, when he was at Lazio, he was a Milan killer. Lautaro, Lautaro is a Milan killer as well. And so, yeah, you have those two dynamics with him, and hopefully as years go on for him, and if you're a Lautaro fan, is that you want to see him kind of minimize those streaks, those cold streaks, and make it more consistent. But when he's on, he is as good as almost anybody. Maybe not Osimhen, right? Well, but it's different players, different size, different talents. But Lautaro is, especially on the counterattacks, like you mentioned, he is a joy to watch. He just knows where to go. He's great in the air for such a little guy. That's so impressive to see.
He's got that big forehead. How can you miss it? Coming from a guy who has a big forehead, I know him when I see him. See that?
There you go. Fair enough.
I can self-deprecate myself once in a while. So DiMarco said it. They did not expect Milan to behave like this. It didn't feel like a derby, saying Eduardo Hernandez. That's very fair. But here's the other thing that I say when I see Dzeko and Lautaro Martinez up front and there's possession dominant. A lot of this is when I play DraftKings and I see Inter in a game like, say, against the Victoria Pilsen, where I know that Inter are going to have a ton more of the ball. I want Dzeko because when DiMarco is crossing it, as Eduardo references DiMarco, it's generally crossing it and putting it on Dzeko's head in the run of play. That forehead got offside.
That was a great comment. I heard it. The rounds making that. That's awesome.
That is awesome.
Ray Headset said if he shaved his eyebrow, maybe he'd be onside,
Maybe that's why I was offside so much in my playing days. So,
oh my God.
But anyway, the goal. Okay, I think. Okay, look. First of all, let's fragment this piece by piece. Okay, I think Milan's defensive setup was fine. There was man marking. I just want to know who was supposed to be on Dzeko in particular, and I thought it was Giroud from what I thought, and then Giroud just went to go chase somebody else. But I think it was smart box running by Inter, okay, and in particular Dzeko, because Kjaer's man marking Lautaro.
Yep.
And if you go back and you look at it, Dzeko just subtly screens Kjaer off of Lautaro and gives Lautaro room to head it. And everybody's in Tatarussanu's way where he doesn't see it coming. I mean, I think that these are the little nuances where the goal happens, and it's well crafted. I don't think there's a real lack of concentration, except for whoever was on Dzeko should have read this and switched and tried to get as close to Lautaro as he possibly could. But by that point, it was too late. And even when he was screened, Kjaer was still making an effort and almost got to him. Just too late. So
I was thinking about it.
That's the savvy of a guy like Dzeko.
Yeah, that's absolutely the point. That's absolutely 100 spot on. You're 100% spot on there. I was thinking about this, like who should be marking Kjaer in an ideal situation. You want it to be Kjaer because it's not Kalulu. Kalulu got the pace, but he cannot jump with Lautaro. Gabbia's not physical enough for Lautaro. Albeit he probably got a foot height advantage on him, right? And probably can't jump with him either. Kjaer's got to be the guy, but like you said, who's covering Dzeko? It should have been Giroud or maybe Gabbia to an extent. Whoever was did not do a good job. Allowed Dzeko to make the smart move that he's an intelligent player. He made the right move, and Lautaro read it, and Kjaer couldn't break off the pick there, and so a great play by Inter, fully deserving that goal.
I'm forced to put it on Giroud because he's closest to Dzeko, which leads me to assume that I think he was supposed to mark Dzeko in that moment.
It's a logical decision too, put Dzeko on or Giroud on Dzeko.
Yeah, and he misread his assignment, and I can't remember who he chased to the near post, but he left him, which gave Dzeko a chance to kind of get in Kjaer's way for Lautaro to finish that. And again, it's craftiness by Dzeko. It's a good finish by Lautaro, and Tatarusanu just doesn't have a chance because he never sees it. So, and it's the only goal of the match that decides this. For Inter, let's talk about them a little bit more. Because this win keeps them in second.
Yep.
But not only it keeps them in second, but it gets them some distance now from fifth and sixth. They've established a cushion here. They've got 5 points off of they're 5 points clear of Atalanta, 5 points clear of Milan now. where they give themselves a chance, to firmly start to cement themselves, string together some wins, and lock up their top 4 place. This was an important win for them. This was okay, if you're going to give this to us, we're going to take it kind of win. But here's the other argument I'm going to make about Inter. And I said this at halftime on Twitter. For all of their possession, for all the control they had in this game, were they really that ruthless? I don't think they were.
I don't think ruthless.
And I expect if you're going to boss a game like that, or if you're going to be invited to boss a game like that, I would expect you have the ability to try to seize it and put your opponent away. And Inter have this funny way of getting, and this is part of we talk about Lautaro with Inter have more possession superiority. He's starting to play better in those moments. Okay. But I've argued all along about Inter, and Eduardo's talking about it. Inter does not have that killer instinct. Well, here's the thing about Inter, and we have been saying it now, Richard, for the last couple of years, and some of this is the Antonio Conte effect with the way Conte likes to set his teams up. How do you make Inter uncomfortable? You give them the ball.
Yep.
You give them the ball.
Yep.
Okay? Because they are not used to, they want to counter you, and they want to expose you and beat you with counterattacking and with counter-pressing. They don't want to beat you by having 85% possession and carving out a lot. They're not comfortable playing that way, it almost seems. No. And it felt that way again. They're not taking the superiority in possession and being aggressive with it. There was just way too much kind of probing, sparring, and throwing jabs instead of throwing the hooks and uppercuts that could have knocked Milan out early.
It was a training session. I mean, Lazio were ruthless. Sassuolo were ruthless against Milan. Inter, not so much. I thought they were efficient because they really didn't tire themselves out. Lautaro and Dzeko, they certainly did because they were backtracking and getting the ball back. I thought Inter was very impressive when they lost the ball because they pressed immediately and within 5 seconds got the ball back every time throughout the entire game, especially the first half, but the entire game in general. But like you said, they're mostly probing and stuff. It's a training ground exercise. Where they break it, where they breach into defense at times. Yes. Tatarusanu, for all the haters out there, he played well in this game. I thought okay in this game. I'm not saying well, but he played okay. He made a great save on Lautaro early in the game. Had some other good plays as well. So this can be at the fault of him. It's not. I just think Inter weren't ruthless, like you said. Were they good? Yes. Did they deserve to win? 100%. They probably should have won by 3 goals, but the point is, they didn't get those goals, but it was still comfortable. They weren't threatened at all in this game.
Yeah. Now you put them in games where they counter, or if you're trying to press them and fail, they're going to destroy you. But Inter against low blocks, Inter against teams that play more compact, it's a struggle for them.
You see this question by Kyle? It's an interesting one. Napoli obviously has players that take you on one-on-one. And Milan do as well with Leao. But do Inter lack players who can dribble you one-on-one? I mean,
they could big time.
Yeah,
big time. They don't have.
Walking Korea should, but he doesn't. Lautaro doesn't. Dzeko doesn't. I mean, Dumfries doesn't. I mean,
there's not a single take on artist on that team.
No midfielder does. I mean, there's no take on artist, like you said.
Your best 1v1 winner is Lukaku when he's fit and on, but it's with Lukaku, it's more of a physicality, and muscling a guy off the ball to open up space and finish. It's not tricky dribbling. So Eduardo, Inter can move the ball around, but after dominating 50, 60 minutes and only 1 goal, Inter start to get anxious, nervous, start making silly mistakes that other teams take advantage of. And I said that at halftime. I was like, is Pioli trying to lull this Inter team into a level of playing casual that they could punish them for? Like Giroud did almost minute 75. Yeah. That was the worst technical decision I have seen from Olivier Giroud in years. Yeah. Why he would put that back on his left and expose it for the defender, where he has the first touch on his right foot and can bury it. Yeah. If he does it that way, this game ends 1-1. I'm convinced of it. Yep. But he, for some reason, felt like he needed that on his left. Yeah. And it brought the defender back into the play. It was a beautiful pass from Leao that led to it.
Yeah. But going back to your point, we've seen this before with Milan, right? Last year.
Well, before we get to Milan, I'm going to say one more thing about Inter. Here is where they won the game. When Simone Inzaghi brought on Marcelo Brozovic in the 71st minute. Okay. Pioli made his attacking changes. He brought on his guys. But Brozovic coming on, 71st minute to me when I saw that, and the role that Brozovic played, sit in front of the back three, Milan are coming at you.
Oh, yeah.
Diffuse and blow
another
up
Milan
everything.
killer. Another Milan killer, Brozovic.
Exactly. And his role was simple. Just make their attacks more difficult. We've got the 1-0 lead. Cover the ground that makes it more difficult. I thought it was a very good substitution by Inzaghi to counter what Pioli was trying to do. And to me, that's the substitution that killed the game.
I agree about that. I thought the game was lost when I saw the starting lineups. One, the personnel that they used. Two, the 3-5-2. And I saw that. I said, Milan was going to lose this. But to your point, yeah, I agree with you. Once Brozovic came in, you knew that there was no chance Milan was going to come back and win this or draw it. I thought that maybe we were going to shithouse it at one point when we saw the 75th minute and we saw that there's chances. But yeah, Brozovic came in, locked up shop, and that was it.
Yep. Let's come back to the Milan side because we looked at it. It's 3-5-2. When I first saw it and when I looked at the lineups and I thought Macias was a winger in a 3-4-3. Nope. And then when they were out there and that he was the Metzela in a 3-man center midfield, I was like, well, what?
Yep.
So when I saw the 3-4-3, I thought, all right, I thought this was 3-4-3, and I said, Milan are going to take their chances with pressing them because they have been successful when they pressed Inter's back three in the past and when they've pressed Çalhanoğlu into mistakes.
Yep.
But they didn't do that. To your point, it was Macias playing as a Metzela, which, you play 3-5-2, you drop him in, and you just help him just clog up passing lanes. And okay, look, what have we been saying in Milan? We got our friends Milan. Bogs in my mind we didn't go 4-4-2. It gives the team more balance, especially as they have no jump in their game and no confidence. But how do you do 4-4-2? I think you can. Do you play?
I would have done 4-4-2 before I do 3-5-2, based on history. Every time
Pioli has gone to 3-5-2. Who plays left mid then? Because Salamakers plays right mid.
Yeah.
Right. Tonali and Krunic play in the middle. Who play? You're not going to have Leao playing left mid and have him track back.
I just know every time Pioli's done the 3-5-2, every time he's trying to match the opposition's formation, it's failed miserably.
Okay.
Do it again.
All right.
You got to figure out who plays in the 4-4-2, but like I said, that 3-5-2, I never would have gone to that just because we don't have the personnel for that. We never played that.
But we've asked for change from the 4-2-3-1 now for the last 2 weeks. And this is kind of.
But some people have. Yes, a lot of people have.
I'm trying to
I loved your take last week with Martino Puccio. You said a 4-3-2-1. It's clogging up the middle. It's a Christmas tree formation. That would do it. I would agree. I agree with that.
Yeah. I thought just take the 10 out of the system because we don't have a well-functioning 10 and add a midfielder that's just going to kind of plug up holes. In Milan, if we had Benacer, we're playing a 4-3-2-1 today, but we don't have Benacer.
You think?
This is, given the personnel that was available to Pioli, this is probably the best that Milan could have done formationally. Okay. I don't know if you could play 4-4-2 with what was available to you. And I believe is it Presidente talking through that or is it Stevie? You guys, it's usually one or the other.
It's usually Presidente.
Yeah. So, but it's usually Presidente. But I think you have to try to come up with the best way. What have we been saying all along? Said, okay, Calabria and Teo need support. They need cover, whether it comes from the midfield or whether it comes from center backs in a 3-man defense. All right. Hey, Stevie, how you doing? No, he's using Milan. Oh, it's Presidente. Okay. Sorry, Presidente.
Frank's still learning to read.
I'm doing this. Listen, I actually now use readers for when I'm looking at computer screens, so forgive me.
I got gray in my beard, so yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, I'm an old man. I'm like
I got a cane.
trending.
I got a cane. I'm with you.
I'm like trending toward prescription glasses at some point. Don't worry. I'll be doing this in glasses soon enough.
Hey, to be fair, the Milan players look like they were all old today too. So,
not like 2005 old against PSV in the second leg. So in the semifinals.
Shit, the banter era wasn't even this bad against Inter.
No. All right, so we're complaining. So we're complaining about formations, and we're complaining about not playing Leao from the start. I have a whole bunch of things, Richard, that I just want to get into, because I mean, I think we all agree. We're all disappointed with Milan's performance, with their approach, with their mentality, with this game. Okay, and with this 1-0 defeat. I don't think we need to beat. You don't need to come to this podcast to get beaten to death. Time to get sponsored by Warby Parker. Nobody likes a smartass. How's Cagliari doing?
They're probably doing better. They could probably beat Milan right now.
They probably could.
Palermo too.
Ranieri could come up with something to beat us, couldn't he?
Right.
Yeah. And don't underestimate him. So much being made about formations. Leo not starting. I'm going to just encompass all of this right now, Richard. And I think a lot of this has to do with Pioli, because if you go to Milan Twitter right now, if you go on Twitter, everybody says it's time. Pioli, thank you for the Scudetto. It's time for you to go, is a sentiment among many of them. Okay. Yeah. This is my Pioli in, also known as being reasonable with the unreasonable.
Okay.
Okay. So Here we go. First of all, there are a litany of injuries. Okay. Maignan, Tomori, Benacer. I'm leaving people out. I just know I am.
Ibra. Is Ibra?
Well, I mean, Ibra we're counting on as a sub when he comes back anyway.
It's 50 anyway.
You know, key guys that you leaned on. So, you know, you've got that. You don't have your best and healthiest. Inter were far more healthy than Milan coming into this game. Okay, so Inter have an advantage there right off the bat. Secondly, you with Tatarusanu in goal, and Martino and I covered this last Tuesday night. You have to play this way or close to it with Tatarusanu in goal. If they would have trotted out this 3-5-2, the more I think about it, and if they would have tried to press and play a possession-dominant game against Inter, we'd be talking about a 4-1 defeat right now, okay? Because Mkhitaryan and Barella in particular would have had a field day, finding those spaces between the midfield and that three-man defense. They would have had an absolute fucking field day.
Pioli said the same thing today, too, after the game.
Yep. And you know, never mind, because the back three are going to be so occupied with Dzeko and Lautaro. Okay, so we have already seen enough sample that if you try to play the same style with Tatarusanu in goal that you do with Maignan in goal, you're going to give up more goals. Tatarusanu is just not the goalkeeper, so they have to play this way. This is Allegri, Juve level. Welcome to it until we can get Maignan back. Okay. We're going to have to try to see how we can counter people and go from there. This was a very similar approach to last year's derby from Milan, okay? Where last year when they won, they played the 4-2-3-1. They start Kessie in the 10. They take the one, they fall behind, and they oddly enough, gave up a corner in the first half against Inter. We're 1-0 down, change things around. Brahim comes in, plays the 10. Kessie goes back to a more holding midfield role, and Milan puts an imprint on the game, comes from behind and wins by 2-1. What they didn't account for is where I thought Inter officially won the game. In that game last year, Brozovic played from the start, so he was part of this midfield that was running and chasing and passing and moving and all of this other stuff, and you wear him down a little bit, and now you bring on little Brahim who can run past him all day long and make the game horrible for him. Now you're bringing Brozovic on as a substitute, fresh legs for 20 minutes to just go sit in front of the back three and help close the game out. Different environment, okay? So if there's a failure here for Pioli and his approach to this game, it's not accounting for the fact that Brozovic was going to play a part here. to try to break up some of the things you were going to do when you had the ball. Leao, I'm going to give you guys all a twist because I heard a lot of anger that Leao didn't start. You play your best guys in the derby and all of this other stuff, okay? Let me ask anybody at Milan Twitter. Let me ask you, Richard. Let me ask any of you guys in the chat. I'm going to ask you a very honest question. Are you guys on hand at Milanello every day?
No.
Do we know what's going on with Rafael Leao? No,
and we know that he's been not his normal self lately. He's been struggling, whether it's tiredness or whatever, and he needs some games off. Now, I probably
he's fatigued.
Exactly. I would have probably scheduled it so that he was ready for the derby. I would have scheduled that a couple games before, and so he'd be ready for this game. But he was fatigued. Everyone, you have to know he's fatigued because you can see the way he's playing. He doesn't have that same zip that he normally does.
What happened to Nicola Barella toward the end of last season?
Yeah, exactly.
Burned out. Exactly. What happened to Sarri's Napoli as they were chasing that Scudetto pack?
Exactly.
Burned out because he kept playing the same guys.
And you need him for the stretch run. You need him for the stretch run. So you got to sacrifice.
I see right now, and if Milan end up finishing top 4, you guys can all come back to this episode. Episode number is this 252?
252.
Episode number 252 for this rant that I'm giving you right now. That part of a manager's job is to plan long range. Milan are going to jump back into playing every 3 days and playing a lot of important matches here in the business end of the season before you know it. They're going to need Leao. Pioli looked at this and said, all right, you're tired. This is what I'm theorizing. You're fatigued. What can you give me? I'll take what you can give me. Give me 30 minutes. Give me 40 minutes. We'll use you as a change of pace guy to change the game. I've got 5 substitutions. Make it work.
Yeah, it worked.
Okay. And it had an impact until Inzaghi brought on Brozovic, and then it killed it.
Yeah.
All right. So there's some long-range thinking going on here by Pioli as part of the problem. And I'm not making excuses. I'm laying out what I think is realistically going on here with why Leao didn't start, why he was brought on as a substitute, why Milan are playing the way they are right now in this derby. And guess what? They're going to probably play this way going forward for a while. As long as Tatrasanu's in goal, this is how they're going to play. Yeah. And until they can get guys back like Benacer and Tomori, this is how they're going to play.
You notice Cialanoglu and company going after Tatarasanu on the corners because they know what kind of goalkeeper they got, so they kept going for it a couple times.
Right,
like at least 3-4 times they went for it.
Right.
I agree with you about
17 league games left. 17 league games left, and as it stands right now, let's just assume Lazio wins tomorrow. They're still only 3 points out of 4th place, despite all the disasters that are going on.
And 5 behind Inter.
Yep, and 5 behind Inter.
It's not bad.
Part of a manager's responsibility is to do long-range planning. And some of this is your star player has been playing a lot. We've seen a lot. And Eduardo's making a very good point. Fans want to win the derby. They want the city's bragging rights. I totally understand it, okay? I'm just making a case for what I see Pioli trying to do here. I'm making a case for what I saw him trying to do in the game. Where it was like, all right, we're going to have to absorb and find our way to a goal. And they didn't find their way to the goal.
Yeah.
And then finally, the last underlying reason I had for Pioli and I'm going to repeat what I said Tuesday night with Martino. There is no one that's realistic that we can get that's worthwhile. No one. 100%. I don't want the cheap short-term thrill. Oh, great. We finished top 4 with this guy who's really not that good. Watch the start of next season when we're in 13th after 10 games. Right? Because it happens way more than the alternative where you think you found the guy that's just going to lead you to winning every year.
Yeah.
So that's my full layout about apologizing for Pioli.
I am definitely not a Pioli out guy. I'm definitely keep Pioli. I think ride Pioli, ride the ship for the rest of the season for sure, and then see what you got. And I agree. Manager's job is to think long term. My problem with Pioli is he's stubborn, right? The team is flat. The team is obviously flat. Mm-hmm. They're injured, no depth at the moment. Players like Leao, obviously like fatigue. Team is just not performing the way they're supposed to be playing. And then Pioli's stubborn. He doesn't change anything. This game he obviously did, but he hasn't been changing anybody. He hasn't been giving some guys like Frank an opportunity. The Catalares had a little bit of time here and there. Malik Chow hasn't got much of an opportunity. There's a lot of guys he could, just give him a run out, see what they can do. Yeah. Nothing's been working. That's my problem with Pioli. He's like, he's just being stubborn and doing the same thing over and over again. And finally, today he changed it. It didn't work, but he changed it finally. And that's my biggest.
He changed the system. He didn't really change the guys, though.
Correct. That's my thing. He's not changing the guys. He keeps the same guys who are not performing, hoping that they're going to come out of it. And sometimes it works, but it's obviously not working. Change those guys up and maybe you get something else. I like the insertion of Divock Origi because it's something different. He scored a goal last week. Maybe you sit Giroud, or you probably don't sit Giroud in this kind of game, but there's other players you can put in there that changed it up because you put the same bodies over and over again. They're going through the motions, the flat motion where no one's there. No one on the team on the pitch is doing the pick me up and let's go get them. No one's doing that. Mm-hmm. That's my issue.
Yeah, I think Vranks deserves a try. I think that, but again, but you're also in a derby, and who has experience in a Milan derby, Astor Vranks or Rade Krunic? And he has sample with Rade Krunic that he's comfortable with. At least he is. I mean, the rest of us might not be.
Yeah. And that wasn't even Krunic's best position either.
No.
He's utility. He can do anything, but
yeah, I mean, he's deputizing in certain positions to try to keep this afloat for Milan. So. But, and then Presidente's nailing it. How many years have we been complaining about a lack of stability? We have stability now, and most are not happy with it. I'm with you. Some different players need to get an opportunity now. Okay? I mean, the worst thing you're doing for Charles de Ketelare is keeping him on the bench and not giving him run.
Right.
Okay? The only way, and we said this last week, the best thing you can do for that boy is to play him.
Yeah.
And let him work through it. Part of the crisis of confidence is you're not giving him the opportunities. You keep going to Brahim Diaz, who you may not have back next year.
You want him at $22 million?
What's that?
So do you want him at $22 million?
No, I'm not paying $22 million for Brahim Diaz. That money can be better invested somewhere else.
Yeah.
Right-sided player, for example. Here's what else I learned about Milan, and somebody said it. Salamakers might be a better right back than Calabria.
He might. Definitely got better work rate.
Well, here's the thing, and here's why the three-man defense benefits Teo to have some, a bit more freedom going forward on the left-hand side, but it would benefit Salamakers because naturally he has spent a lot of his career professionally and then also in youth playing as a right wing back with a three-man defense behind him. Exactly. And when I watched him play when he came on as a substitute, there was a bit of a comfort level with him in there. There were some mistakes, don't get me wrong, but I was okay when Salamakers came on for Calabria because it's like, yeah, this Salamakers can play this position. He knows this. He'll be able to blend right in and get his job done. So.
But Inter 100% deserve this game.
Much
far the better team. One last thing before we wrap this up is I know I had no issues with anything the referees called this game. I thought the referee nailed everything they called for the most part. My problem is obviously the offside rule, and we saw with Lautaro's goal that he was offside based on the rule. I've always said, I think you even said like the tie should go to the striker. It should be like it's even at that point. Like unless they're egregiously offsides, 5-10 yards offsides. Yeah, sure, that's offside. But if they're somewhat even, give it to the damn striker. I mean, the game would be much more entertaining, more interesting at this point. And VAR would be used sparingly for like those big errors where they are majorly offside. So that's
Inter fans can call for Lautaro to have surgery done on his forehead, so he's not offside next time in that moment. So
poor Lautaro.
Just have it,
Poor Lautaro, poor Milan. Lautaro is celebrating right now. He doesn't care.
Can we shrink that bet? Yeah, he doesn't care.
Interisi are happy. Eduardo's happy. So.
That's his ego planted in there right now. So, I'm with. I mean, Inter deserved to win the game. They took what they were given. It wasn't a dazzling display by them by any stretch of the imagination, but it was 3 points. It was 3 points and 3 points in a derby and bragging rights and and all of that fun stuff. I just I see Inter get the win. They get to boost kind of their situation in terms of gaining one of these Champions League places. I just look at Milan right now, and I just kind of look at, I think it almost feels like the Milan camp are okay with punting this game in the process of fixing their issues for the balance of the season to get themselves in a position to still finish top four.
But to Eduardo's point, this is a derby. Maybe this is not the game you punt, but it is what it is.
Yeah, but man, if they would have gone out in that same system they've been playing they would have gotten thrashed.
Oh, for sure, I agree.
So I've got no problem with the approach. I fully accept, and I accept Pioli's comments after the game. I think his one flaw was probably not accounting for the fact that Brozovic was there on the bench and was going to play a role here. To cancel things out.
And this game was so important for Inter because it's not like they were like flying high. They were struggling also. We talked about this with Alex a couple weeks ago. It was like Inter has been struggling lately, and they've been going ups and downs. And so this game was going to be a big boost for them. And going forward, hopefully they can start getting some runs together. Like you said, create some separation between second and third. See if they can catch Napoli. Right now they're the forerunners who think that if anyone's going to catch them, it'll have to be Inter because they're the closest.
Yeah. I mean, Milan have some issues that they have to fix and work through, and the derby just came at a bad time for them. Really,
is this Inzaghi's first win in the derby? I think it is.
I want to say he won one other.
Okay.
What happened last year? Didn't they win? Didn't they split them?
Right? Didn't Cialanoglu win? Oh, they tied that game.
They tied that. Yeah, you're right. First one was a tie. Second one, Milan won. Well, no, Inzaghi won the Super Cup.
Yeah, that's Super Cup.
So,
I'm talking about the league.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the bonus round game.
Yeah.
So the champions of Arabia, as it was said in the Milan Tifo. Eduardo heard that also. The change in formation avoided an even greater goal difference. Exactly. Yeah, I thought if Pioli, like I said, if Pioli would have gone in and done the same thing he's been doing for the last couple of weeks, this would have been an absolute thrashing. So the hand was forced. They had to do this, and Pioli even said in the press conference, 3-man defense is what we're playing for the foreseeable future. And I think that has a lot to do with Tatarusanu in goal. It's just their best chance of winning games right now. So crazy game. But, in how it played out and how it got organized, it certainly hasn't been the spectacle that we thought it would be or what it had been in the last couple of years. But it is what it is. So, there were
better games.
There was only 6 other games, really?
There were. They were all better.
Two tomorrow and one Tuesday. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Serie A is just throwing some curveballs, man.
Yeah. All right. Looking at the rundown, if you don't mind me taking this, I'll take this.
No, all yours.
Relegation 6-pointer, maybe not so much. Lecce is kind of safely out of the zone at the moment with Cremonese hosting Lecce. Game. It was actually a pretty entertaining game. Goals by Bascarotto and Strefezza. Strefezza, nice goal of the week candidate there. Lecce win comfortably. I guess comfortably. 2-0. Good game there.
Lecce are 14th and 10 points clear of the drop.
Yeah. Them and
good. We're gonna have to get our Lecce boys back on here. They gotta be. They gotta be just jumping through it right now.
Absolutely. The fans are great both home and away, but especially at home. We know how tough they are at home. Speaking of home, Roma at home against Empoli. 2 goals early in the game. Looked like it was going to be a rout. Ibanez off a header, similar like he did it against Milan. And then Abraham as well got a nice goal. 2-0. Looks like they're going for a rout, but not so much. Empoli kind of close up shop. Vicario, fantastic triple save at one point on like everybody on the Roma team, it seemed like. But Vicario played very well. I thought Empoli started coming back into the game. Very entertaining game, I would say, for sure. But Roma win 2-0. If
this doesn't validate Tommaso Baldanzi as one of the young upcoming stars of Italian football, then people are just angry for no reason. Then
100%. The Giant Killers are back. Sassuolo thrashed Milan just recently, and then they come back and they beat Atalanta 1-0. Obviously a red card. Well, I don't know, obviously, but a red card by Miele in the 30th minute early in the game. And then as well, Muriel going late in the game, whatever. But
that was a legit red. I saw that.
Yes, I agree with that call. It was
studs are way too high and
could break someone's leg doing what he did.
Yeah.
But
that was violent.
Our man.
But let me ask you this, and this would not that this would have changed the outcome of the derby, but Gozen's challenge on Salamakers.
It was close. I think
because it's similar.
Yes, but there was a follow through by Salamakers that happened. So I could yellow. I'd be fine with the yellow there. I don't think it was a red. I think the Mayella thing was absolutely red. What are your thoughts on Gosens?
It was the first thing that came to my mind was the Mayella tackle when that happened.
Yeah,
I think it felt similar, but
different situations, but similar. Yes, I agree.
Yeah, it felt similar, but apparently the referees didn't think it was even worth looking at. So
yeah,
and they know more than me. So.
But our man Loriente got a goal in the 56th minute, 55th minute, 56th minute, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But such a good game. Sassuolo found a way to win. They look pretty good in this game. Obviously, it helps to have a man up, but I think being even 11-11, they still would have played this way. They found their mojo back. It seems like I kind of agree with Anthony in the chat that hey, maybe they can go on a little bit of run here because they've been struggling. They were too close to that relegation spot. They were 17th at one point.
So they've just beaten Milan and Atalanta in back-to-back weeks. When did they get Marquizza?
Oh yeah. Forgot about that.
Because he had the assist on Lorient's goal.
Yeah. Moving on to today, the first place team Napoli were on the road at La Spezia. Spezia were played actually pretty well in the first half. Kept it very close, 0-0.
You reminded me of what I told you before the air.
Yeah.
Nil-nil halftime. During halftime, I'm seeing my wife off to work. I go to take a shit. I come back. I see Napoli's winning 3-0.
If you left to take a shit, you would have missed all the goals. Napoli scored 3 goals in the second half. The goals. Penalty in the 47th minute. Stone cold penalty. Havrachelia converted that. Osimhen in the 68th and 73rd minute. One of those assisted by Havrachelia. The goal, it was a blunder. The second goal that was, Dragowski, I don't know what the hell he was doing. Havrachelia goes for a shot, gets blocked, goes way in the air, and he's like nonchalant about it. Osimhen, to his credit, goes after the ball, out jumped Dragowski, who's going with his hands, and gets a goal in there. Well done by Osimhen. But Napoli comfortable win 3-0 in there. Torino Udinese, very entertaining game in this one. One of the goals of the week candidates in Caramo. Question of offsides, but he was just onside. Wonderful cross by Aina that found Caramo, who no mistakes about it, put it away behind Silvestre. 1-0 Torino wins that. The derby that was entertaining was Fiorentina hosting Bologna. What an
Derby dell'Apennino.
Yeah. This was a wide open game. I was hoping the derby would be like this. Maybe if it was, it would have been a blowout for Inter. But goal scoring started early in the penalty. Orsolini steps up, scores the goal in the 14th minute. Saponara scored a goal in the 19th to cancel that out. Saponara nearly had goal of the year. He had this bicycle kick that went off the crossbar and just went out. But it was not to be Fiorentina's day. Posh early in the second half off a corner kick, I believe. If I remember correctly, it was a free kick. Either way, scores the goal. That's all Bologna would need. Bologna win on the road. Bologna, Thiago Motta, they're finding their way. They're up to 9th now. This is the Bologna we thought we would have seen for years now. They got the talent. They just didn't have whatever it was. And they finally got it under Motta. And Motta, look out. He keeps this up. He might be in the nomination for Manager of the Year. He won't get Manager of the Year, but he'll be in the nomination if he keeps this up.
Man, I'll tell you what. Stefan Posch knows how to score goals from the right back position, doesn't he? That's back-to-back weeks. He's got 4 on the season. He came over from Bundesliga. What team was he with?
I don't recall.
Was he with one of the teams that went down? And then Bologna picked him up. It escapes me because I remember him playing in Bundesliga a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I don't remember.
So
you got a couple games tomorrow: Verona, Lazio, and Monza, Sampdoria, and then as well on Tuesday you got Salernitana and Juventus.
This is bothering me. I'm going to look this up.
Hoffenheim. Kyle says Hoffenheim.
That is Hoffenheim. Yes, thank you, Kyle. You are right.
All right. So, what of this match week you want to talk about? This is a good match week. Outside of the
well, I'll jump into the games that are going to happen tomorrow and Tuesday real quick. We've got Hellas Verona hosting Lazio. Lazio, I mean, it's worth watching a little bit only because, Hellas Verona unbeaten in 4 out of the last 5. That loss did come to Inter, and 2 of the wins were Cremonese and Lecce. The draws were Torino and Udinese, and then Lazio maybe a little bit of a different proposition away than they are at home. We have talked about that, so it's a worthwhile watch. Even though Lazio they're actually fourth in away matches this season. It just feels like for some reason they're just a worse away team. Maybe because of all of the wins that they've had at home this year, like Inter and Milan, and there's another big team they knocked off at home this season too. So that's worth your time. But I mean, Lazio also does have kind of a stranglehold on this series. They beat them 2-0 last time out. There was a game in Verona in October of 21 where Hellas actually won 4-1. But Lazio has obviously won the majority of these over the last few times. We'll have to see how things go. Immobile, I think, is expected back. Zaccagni is also expected back, so that'll bolster things for Lazio.
Interesting.
Monza, as far as Serie A is concerned, a 5-match unbeaten run, and those aren't slouches that they played. They drew Fiorentina and Inter, beat Cremonese, drew Sassuolo, beat Juve. They lost to Juve in the Cup, but it's coming together for them. Sampdoria, what have we said about them? Just, playing better under Stankovic, just not getting the results, and, kind of going back and forth with Vito Doria this week, and he said the team just needs to shut it down and go to Serie B and start getting some finances under control and things like that, and try to figure out how they can regroup themselves.
I wonder if Berlusconi ever followed through with his promise that he would give his team a bus full of hookers if they beat one of the big three, and they beat Juventus twice now this season. So, just curious. Bunga bunga party.
Yeah, he's gonna have 2 bunga bunga parties, then, isn't he?
Yeah, a weekend.
So, but a win for Monza puts them in 10th, past Empoli. And puts them a point behind Bologna and Udinese, and 2 behind Torino, which right now with the points deduction for Juve, Monza is a thing for the Conference League.
Wow.
Who knew? Yeah, I said they'd be mid-table. I didn't think they'd be better than that. But
no.
I mean, with the players that they've got, you can't rule it out. So, and then Juventus will travel to Salernitana on Tuesday. It's almost a relegation 6-pointer. It's actually kind of a mid-table scrum, if you will, because of this points penalty for Juve. Juve has not won a game since handed that penalty, by the way, except for the cup games. They're advancing in the cup.
They beat Monza in the cup, right? Is it Monza they beat? Who they beat?
Yeah, they beat Monza.
Yeah.
Okay. Salernitana just had a big win against Lecce, but they've had some really tough matches of late that have kind of led to their losing run. Milan, Atalanta, Napoli, chief among them. They had a draw with Torino in there. And then you look at Juve. Logic says Juve wins this game, but I think there's enough in Salernitana's locker to give them some trouble. Especially with the way Juve's conceding goals of late too.
If you read the rumors, if you believe the rumors that Vlahovic and Chiesa are back in the starting lineup, that should be a boost, certainly for them, but for Juventus as well on the offensive side, don't you think?
Chiesa?
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
As long as he's not playing wing back.
What's that?
As long as he's not playing wing back like Allegri.
He probably will. So he probably will. That's where Allegri will put him. It's just they boggle the mind. The talent's there, even with some of the guys they don't have or whatever. But I think Juve may legitimately just want to do enough in the league and then put their eggs in the Coppa Italia basket to maybe qualify, which would qualify them for the Europa, or put their eggs in the Europa basket, which winning that would put them in the Champions League. So
imagine the scenes.
You could see that playing out. It's kind of wild. But those are 3 games that are, enough for you to, if you're at work and you can get Paramount Plus on your computer, definitely recommend. So, but let's come back to the games that actually were played. Yeah, this Fiorentina Bologna game was amazing. Lots of chances from both sides. To your point, good play from Gonzalez, good play from Jovic. Amrabat went back to his best.
That goal line clearance between Terracciano and Jovic was really nice. Kind of led to a penalty though.
Yeah.
That they scored on, but yeah. Overall.
Yeah. So those were the Fiorentina players that did well. Riccardo Orsolini has really, man, he's exploded the last few weeks. But he's always had this ability, and
yes.
and it's just like, and here's the thing: I think you're seeing Mota just turn him loose and say, "You're our guy. Everything we want to run things through you."
Yeah.
Where Barrow was in there, they gave a few things to some other guys. Excuse me. But Mota's turned Orsolini loose. He's playing an awful lot more confident. We already talked about Posh. Skorupski had a big game, came up with some pretty key saves. Yeah, I mean, if there was a game that you could have said, all right, this game's a draw, and I'm not disappointed that there wasn't a winner because both teams played well, this is it. But Bologna found the extra goal that Fiorentina couldn't. So.
And Orsolini makes sense too because Moussa Berra is the better player overall, I would say. But I think Orsolini has a passion. Every time he scores or assists, he's with the crowd. He's pumping them up. And as he goes, the team seems to go. And they just follow his passion. And so it makes sense. They let him loose and let him, kind of pull the strings and run the show. And they're feeding off his energy. And I think that's a wise move by Thiago Motta.
Mm-hmm. Roma will just be efficient. I mean, you talk about how, and we said Baldanzi looked really good as that game went on, but when you go back and think about it, isn't this what Mourinho does? If he gets a lead, he just kind of.
So yeah, when Mourinho's team Roma, they got the 2-0 lead, I said they're just going to shut up shop and just play like that. But no, they kept trying to go for goals. I mean, Vicario really saved the day. But yeah, my first instinct was this is perfect for Mourinho. 2 early goals within 5 minutes of the game, first 5 minutes of the game, and then just gonna lock up shop and go home pretty like that. But no, it was certainly efficient, like you said. They got the 2-0 win. This shutout was important. But yeah, it just they kept trying to go for goals. It's good to see from Mourinho.
Are you like me? Are you looking forward to seeing how Bayrami fits in this Sassuolo setup?
Yes, and you started seeing glimpses of that. Him and Loriente were so not magical, but they were playing really well together in this game against Atalanta. Give him a couple more games in that setup, and he's gonna be feasting. Him and Fratesi there. Oh my goodness!
What made them so damn good under De Zerbi? Juricic in the 10.
Yeah.
Was an underrated. I mean, you're going to talk about Berardi. You're going to talk about some of these other guys, the strikers. Juricic was a legit underrated 10.
He was the cause, yeah, absolutely,
in that setup. So, I mean, Juricic is right now just struggling for form at Sampdoria. Everybody's struggling for form at Sampdoria, but that's something that's worth highlighting and noting.
And the Frel as a striker is working because he's doing his job. He's holding up the ball. He's, attracting the center backs to him, and that frees up, Berardi and Loriente and Fratesi coming from the middle. Now you add Barami to the mix. This is Sassuolo team's finally coming around the corner. We didn't think this at all, but they're not going to be in 17, or they're not going to be towards the bottom of the table for long. They're going to be back to mid-table in no time.
And I'll tell you this a little bit more. I mean, they're up to 15th now, so they've certainly made their move, and they're 10 clear of the drop, so they've got some breathing room now.
Yeah.
But man, I'll tell you what, and we had to take our medicine from it last week as Milan fans. But there's one of the favorite things I like seeing is when Domenico Berardi's in form, because when he's in form, he is really damn good.
Yes. He there's a thing what we hope for with the Azzurri, and also with Sassuolo. When he's on, it's just like he has this other gear. He can get the goals because he has a great left foot. He can also shoot with the right. His assists, his vision is so wonderful. He can find anybody on the pitch, it seems like. And he doesn't seem like the fastest guy, but whenever he has the ball and he's on form, he just seems to go through people, whether it's one-on-one or beat him with pace somehow. He's a scary player. He's just inconsistent. If he could be more consistent, this is probably why he never made that big move, because yes, he has some really great days, but then when he's off, you're like, where is he? He's missing. But yeah, to your point, when he's on. I mean, he's hard to stop.
Set the value at Victor Osimhen. I said 100. I said to Premier League teams 180 million this morning.
Yeah, I mean 150 million minimum.
Yeah, I said 180.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. And at this point, if he gets to 20 goals or Napoli wins the Scudetto, it'll probably be 200 plus.
Mm-hmm. We talked. We kind of jumped for joy about Lecce a little bit earlier. I think we covered everybody here at this point.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Spezia, the likeliest team of those above the drop to get tugged into this bottom three at the expense of one of these three teams if one of these three get out.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Salernitana is doing just enough. I think they got some of the nice pieces that came here that'll help them out in the long run. Obviously, with David Nicola back from his brief hiatus. But I think Hellas, if they can find a way to pull some, get a run going and get out. If you're, it's up to me, and it's between Hellas and Spezia, I'm gonna go Hellas. I am, just because there's more talent at Hellas at the moment. But yeah, Spezia. Don't look now. They always find a way to stay in the league, though. They always find a way, but they're the most likely. They are.
Well, they better start scoring. They've got 1 goal in their last 5 games. So, and they're starting to concede goals, and I think they're starting to slowly realize the importance of Kivior back there, losing him to Arsenal. So, it is not just because they're sitting in 17th, but I just think just on personnel, Spezia is the most likely that's sitting safe right now, but could be facing the drop. And I think it would be at the expense of Verona. I still won't rule out Sampdoria just yet, okay? But it is a mess there. I mean, at some point, you got to start winning games. And if they lose to Monza tomorrow, they're probably going to lose to Monza tomorrow. You can shut them down because it's going to be a heck of a climb to get out of it. Yeah, they're only 9 back of Spezia, and there's a chance, but with Verona having the potential to get there too, I'd rank them. I'd rank them Verona, Sampdoria, Spezia. It would not surprise me if Sampdoria finished ahead of Spezia on points, but both of them would go down 18th, 19th. Okay. So.
Do you have a top 5?
No. No, I didn't do that this week.
I'll give you mine. Honorable mentions. I'm gonna give it to the derby. It's Lautaro's header as well as Tatarano's save on Lautaro early in the game. Those are two big moments there. Number 5, Strifezza, his goal for Lecce. I thought it was a nice goal for them. Second goal in the game. Loriente's goal against Atalanta. Really nice goal. Really well taken. Number 3, I'm going with a save. Terracciano and Jovic goal line clearance. Yes, it came at the expense of a Barak handball right after, but great save by those two players there. Caramo's goal. Love the pass by Aina. I love the finish by Caramo. That's number 2 for me. And number 1 is Vicario. Triple save. How do you not give it to this guy? I mean, unreal the saves that he made in that Roma game. But the triple save, I don't know if I've ever seen a triple save like that. I've seen plenty of doubles. I've seen triples with other players involved, but just one person? That's hard.
Where does he find work next? I mean,
rumors have always been Napoli, right? And now rumors have always been like I've heard Napoli.
But with the way Medic's playing, all of a sudden, it's hard to.
And Lazio, they got Provedel, so that's probably not an option there. That's a good question. I mean, it depends if anybody leaves.
I mean, it could be Roma. Rui Patricio has been around for a while.
He's regressed a little bit this season too.
Yeah,
that's not a bad shout. I mean, Vicario is a good goalkeeper, so he needs to be at a top team for sure. Musso, maybe Atalanta move on from Musso, but I don't know. Atalanta tend to keep some of these players.
Musso's been pretty good this year.
Last year was bad, but this year a little bit better. So I don't know. We'll see. He'll probably start off as a backup somewhere, but he needs to go to top team. He does.
If I'm looking at the top team, the traditional top teams, I'm with Kyle. I think it's Roma. Roma's probably the likeliest if they finally get to a point where Patricio's getting up there, and let's bring a younger guy in that can get it done. But
I mean, maybe Vicario is better than Rui Patricio right now, anyway. So
he could be. So I think that's the likeliest destination of all the good. I'd hate to see him leave, which kind of is a nice segue into the conversation of. What's your take on the Mercato and the lack of activity with Italy and why? I mean, England went nuts with all the money.
Chelsea went nuts.
Well, Chelsea in particular, yeah.
I heard I heard Nesta talking about it. I think Patrick Kendrick shared it videos on
Yeah, I saw that
Milano's
too.
thing. And he was talking about, you know, got to start at the grassroots with the coaching, and I agree to an extent, but it doesn't solve the money issue. Yeah, you got to pay your coaches more, but the big thing is the Mercato was so quiet for most of the leagues is because there's money and people are still, you know, coming out of COVID. They were hit hard, and there's not much funds revenue coming in. On the flip side, a boatload of money is going to the English Premier League, and that's why, you know, so a team that gets promoted from the Championship, I think, gets more money than the Champions League winner, which is ridiculous, and that's all because of TV money. I'm not hating the Premier League because they were smart with their TV deals. They got the excellent deal that helps all their team. It's a Super League, no doubt about it, and they're hogging up all the talent, but that's what you got to do. And my blame is all these other leagues who are not finding ways like the EPL. Maybe the English language is the what can sell it maybe more. I don't know, but you can find a way to get a package with announcers for all these leagues. They already have, you know, English commentators in all these leagues. Find packages. Maybe Serie A or someone's got to go out to and steal the guy from England and try to get them to work that in England, because Serie A's TV revenue stream is just terrible. The deals are horrific. I mean, we've seen what they do with ESPN Plus and Paramount Plus. They've done well with those two locations the last couple of years, but it's nothing like the money that EPL are getting. And until we talk about this financial fair play, and everyone's going to look at Chelsea because they spent like $400 trillion this January alone. But, you know, financial fair play is about not spending too much money because like PSGs and Man Cities of the world. It should also be that there's equity amongst the top leagues, that they all have similar amounts of money, that they're all making this kind of money. And again, it's not to take away credit from the EPL because they did their job. They did their job with the TV deals. They got their money. It's these other leagues need to step up if it's possible. I don't know. I don't even know if it's even possible that, you know, if they had someone of the same level at the EPL that they could bring in the TV revenue. I don't know. Again, it could be the English language thing. I don't know, but that's the big discrepancy at the moment. And people keep talking about financial fair play, and it's not a level playing field when you have teams that make the 20th place team in EPL, you know, coming in with $25 million, 25 million euros or
right.
And Serie A, Milan probably has 20 million to spend. You know, Juventus and Napoli, they maybe have 50 million at best. So it's not fair. It's not fair. And I don't know how you solve it. I think the grassroots away, it's an idea, but you need to bring in more money, more revenue somehow.
I think this just continues. I think you just have to continue to. Well, first of all, I mean, what have we been saying forever? And we said it. I think Martino touched on it last week. I mean, only Sassuolo, Udinese, and Juventus own their stadium. You know, all the Premier League teams, I think, own their stadiums. Serie will never get more than what they are getting for TV rights, especially abroad. Exactly. I mean, and that's part of the problem. The English Premier League have done such a great job, and some of this was brought up by Martino last week too. They took advantage of some of the advances that were out there to promote their brand that Serie A, Bundesliga, to an extent La Liga, except for Real Madrid and Barcelona, failed to capitalize on. You know, the social media aspects, website promoting, and things like that, doing some of the marketing just beyond the traditional stuff. They got such a head start on that. They got such a head start on so many other things. They own their stadiums, the TV deals are through the roof, that they just were able to advance their brand so far that the rest of Europe is playing catch up.
And that's the thing. There's some big markets like in India, China, obviously anywhere in Asia. Indonesia is a huge market as well.
Yeah.
There's a lot of big markets that maybe you can't sell it to the English-speaking people, but you know, the rest of the world, give them an opportunity, and maybe you can find the deals there. Maybe the money will have to be there somewhere. You go to maybe find a way to working with China, because there's been nibbles here, right here and there. That, you know, we had I think a big game that was in China a few years ago between like, I think Juventus and Inter or somebody Inter and Milan or something like that. They dabbled in it, but they got to go all in and really sell themselves there, because frankly, that's what the EPL did. That's why they have all this money. And I agree, it's gonna be hard to compare with the two, but you got to find a way to get some more money, man, somehow.
Exactly. But until then, how do you combat it? Well, you get ass kickers for scouts that are finding the guys that the rest of the clubs aren't finding. You get you know, you find players at the end of contracts that you can get for, probably a discount of a transfer fee versus what they should actually be valued at because their contract's almost up, and you basically can leverage the club and say, okay, either I give you 12 million so I can sign this guy now, or you be stubborn, and then when June comes around, I'll just sign him for free.
It's basically what
he's at
Maldini's
the end
doing.
of your contract. What's that?
It's basically what Maldini's doing. He's playing the smart game, the long game, because he knows it's not sustainable to kind of just go out and spend money.
Yeah.
And maybe it's more so the owners, but that's what they're doing. Or you could just go with the plus Valenza route, right? And just kind of inflate the numbers.
Yeah. And some of it is that, George's point, some of it might be moves that other leagues are doing. It's like this Serie with Apple TV. I'm not renewing Apple TV for MLS.
I hate that, by the way. But yes, I agree 100% with George. You got to think outside the box. Doing the same. What's the definition that Einstein said? You do the same thing over and over again. It's insanity.
Mm-hmm. This is that MLS thing just feels like a very bad cash grab, more than anything. But I personally think it's a bad strategy on the part of MLS. But
I too.
Yeah. But it is what it is. So the other thing that the Paramount deal, there's things I like about it. There's things I don't like about it. I mean, I'm not going to go into some of the things I don't like about it. I think I've said before, and I don't want to start ruffling feathers and getting people pissed off. I'm trying to be a little nicer these days.
What do you like?
What's that?
So what do you like about it?
Well, I like that I can watch any game.
Yes.
I like that if I'm having a late lunch at my office, at my office desk, I can have my lunch there at the desk and I can pop on fucking Hellas Verona against Lecce and be the only guy watching it.
You know what they're doing well too is that they're going to cities and doing these watch parties, and they're bringing people out to those things that can bring new fans in. I love they're doing that.
Yeah, I like this Boston party that they did today. I thought that was smart. They did a nice job with that. Yep. Where I think they miss out, and a lot of this is because other American sports just take precedent, but CBS Sports Network gets there'll be a college football during football season. There will be a college football game on CBS Sports Network before there's a Serie A game. Now, once the football season's over, you'll see some Serie A games on the CBS Sports Network on Saturdays and Sundays that you can watch on YouTube TV. You don't have to open the Paramount Plus app or cable or whatever.
Right.
Occasionally would be nice to see a Serie A game find its way on the mother station CBS, but then you're fighting with PGA golf, you're fighting with NCAA, March Madness, and all of the other things that that the mother station has huge contracts with. So they hit there's merit to having access to all of the games, some of the bonus coverage, and some of the things that they do. The product overall, I think, is pretty good, but I think it has a hard cap on how far it can go because it can have access to bigger things. It won't get it for those reasons.
I like that they got. I don't know. I'm not gonna say I'm giving them the credit, but Serie A's got now headquarters in New York City now. They didn't have that before. So part of that with the way that Paramount Plus and CBS are doing this thing, it's a bonus for the league. So baby steps, but we need to think outside the box to get the kind of money that the EPL gets. If you want to challenge them, we need to get more money.
Got to get they're going to have to get creative. And in the meantime, clubs are just going to have to be smart with their scouting. And more than anything, they need to do the best they can to just kind of try to keep things, in terms of their recruitment of players, keep things as close to the best as possible. Why were Berlusconi and Galliani so good for so many years at Milan? You never knew what they were doing. And then all of a sudden, they pulled this guy out of their ass. I mean, some they couldn't get away from. They couldn't get away from the publicity. I remember. What's that?
Carlos Tevez.
That was a blunder. But I'm talking about George Weah. It was public knowledge that George Weah was going to leave PSG for Milan. Andrei Shevchenko when he joined Milan. It wasn't like the George Weah signing. It was more of a people didn't catch on to it until it had already gotten steam and was almost a done deal. Like it was announced as early as that. While Weah was playing for PSG against Milan in the Champions League semifinals in '95, that Weah was going to be a Milan player.
So, and I think same thing too with Escobar before he was going to move from Colombia to Milan, before he passed away. But I mean, people knew about that. Best left back in the world, basically, and left back, right back, whatever position he played.
Would you believe it if I told you that this is the second Andres Escobar reference I've heard today in one day?
In one day, that's pretty good.
Yeah,
pretty good.
My mom asked me about it from '94.
Nice.
Who was the Colombian player that? And I don't need to. Yeah, everybody knows what happened. So that's match week 21 in a nutshell. We still got a few games to go, and we'll see how those games wind up and how the table formally shakes out here. But we're going to put that all to bed and get on with the world's most popular hashtag game. It is time for Who Won Calcio Twitter. And we've got to make up a couple weeks because Martino and I didn't do this last week, Richard. So we'll have a 2-week winner here.
Oh, 2-week winner. All right. Well, let me zoom in on here so I can see this better. All right, here we go. Starting things off, Uncle Sharma. And it's Pioli's usual complex tactical master plan isn't working today. And it's Leao and Enchilada, right? That's what Nima always says. It's everyone just give the ball to Leao and we get a goal. Didn't work against Sassuolo. Didn't work against Lazio. Didn't work today against Inter.
No, it didn't.
Almost did, but Brozovic came in.
All right, our friend Nima Tavali got a nomination back on January 25th. Emotional video of Inter fans moving goodbye to Gagliardini.
Oh my gosh!
I like this.
That's leader in the clubhouse right there.
Yeah, easy.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Let's see what Apex is nominating here. All right, so the original tweet was Inter fans' reaction to the transfer news doesn't fill me with hope. And then he says, Gagliardini is a new Pirlo region. Trust me. He can't pass, run, shoot, cross, tackle, track back, defend, but he's pretty good. Nice.
I like that one. I still think Nima's ahead. Okay, going to @GunnersCom. Arsenal are interested in Juventus winger Federico Chiesa. The forward is one of many players strongly linked where they move away from Turin following a probe into the club's previous transfer dealings. Chiesa could be available for as little as $20 million.
What are you smoking to think he's going to be available for $20 million? Like, really?
Yeah.
Really?
I think the hilarity in this is that these guys are actually serious.
Yes, I know. Like, what the hell? Oh, anyway. All right. So, Mr. Giallorosa nominated this one. It's Maldini when a player costs more than $500,000.
It's been a while since we've seen something from Statutos.
Yeah. Oh,
let's see here.
Right.
So, moving on, we've got Saturnian in the house with an entry. Milan players that have the same or more goals, assists, and Zaniolo in Serie A this season. Balotore, Tatrasanu, Tiketalare, Benacer, Pobega, Salamakers, Kalulu, Tomori, Origi, Rebic, Calabria, Macias, Krunic, etc. Milan should not go anywhere near $25 million for him. They didn't.
Yeah, what a clusterfuck that it became, right? Oh my goodness. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Anyway, Kareem with this one. It says La Difesa de Milan. So Milan's defense in 2023. Everyone gets by. You get a goal. Everyone gets a goal.
We got a contender. That one with Nima. We're gonna have to make a decision here. All right. Let's see. Bobby is replying to @Francescalcio. First of all, it was the Crazy Italian Pod, Crazy Italian Paul. Former Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi promises to his Monza football players that in case they beat a big team like Juventus or Milan, he will bring them a bus full of hookers. And Francescalcio, Monza players right now. It's the GIF of Mazzarri. It's time. It's time, Silvio. We're collecting.
Oh, that's one from Art Morelli. Art Morelli's back. Says, thanks for everything, Weston McKennie. Good luck in Leeds. It's the weekend.
Yep.
And he's wearing a Juventus jacket, too. It's even better. Oh, that's great. That's great.
All right. Another nomination. This is, let's see. Okay. This is from Gianni Darms @SauceGMP. Me watching myself become an Inter fan, like
No, don't do it. No. Oh, that's great. From Interstellar.
is that what that's?
Yeah. He's trying to stop himself from becoming one.
Ah, I got it.
That's funny. Let's see. Moving on. Napolinissimo. It's a January transfer window. Bayern, they got Cancelo. PSG, they got Ziyech. Spurs, they got Porro. Arsenal got Trossard. Chelsea, 300 signings. Juve, minus 15 points deduction.
Although PSG did not get Ziyech, that collapsed. The last
it collapsed, did it? Okay.
Yep. So, at Fino Alafine 282, it is the Massimiliano Allegri apology form. To Massimiliano Allegri from and date are blank, so you can fill that in. Reason for behavior, and here are your options. I am a Cristiano fanboy. I think this is FIFA career mode, not real life. I was blindly following the majority. I humbly apologize for doubting a great tactician, and I never will do it again. I do not appreciate greatness. I didn't want to watch defensive football, even if it meant losing. I was brainwashed. Your apology needs to be as loud as your disrespect was.
Yeah. They're starting to turn it around. This one comes nominated by Rajat. It's Jose Mourinho. At Mir likes beer. So 13th place Juventus sets third place Lazio. Friends, this is what the Coppa Italia is all about. Struggling mid-table teams getting the chance to prove themselves against the biggest teams in Italy on a massive stage. This is what makes football so beautiful.
But
give it up to the mid-table team, Juventus. Oh my god.
Oh, I remember that one. I saw that the other day. That was good. Okay. George with a cringe-worthy entry. Juventus is the Serie version of NFL's Wheaton Boys, Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, Vucinic.
Vucinic running around without shorts on. That's great.
Oh my goodness. All right. Original tweet was also we tweeted out Vicario with a triple save. Stop that, Vicario. Gillis 15 says he surpassed Tatarusano's 2023 save tally in like 3 seconds. Yes, he did.
All right, our good friend Art Morelli, Derby della Madonnina, February 5th, 2023, international and air conditioner. Those twins again. Who are they again?
Yeah. The Island Boys or something? I don't know.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. It's a fair, accurate description. Okay, moving on. Alessandro Bastoni, the great one. It's Juve relegated and Milan in the Conference League next season. I will love it, and I think I deserve it.
And then finally, El Sayed out loud. End it now. Put in Bonera or Abate for the rest of the season.
They might be available. What's his name? What's his name's over at Monza now. I can't use him. Gabri. Oh, I forget it. Anyway, I'm beyond myself. Winner. Who do you got? That's funny.
I'm down to so I've got it down to 3 guys.
All right.
I've got Mir likes beer.
Yeah.
Nima.
Yeah. That's mid-table.
And where's the other guy? At Mirko_par99,
Kareem, which one did he do? Oh yeah, the defense. I've seen that. It's a good reuse of that video for Kareem. I like that. The Nima one was funny, where shooting Gagliardini off, even though he's still here.
We got to Inter winning the derby today in the spirit of it. I think that's the winner.
That's fine. Yeah, Interisi, they deserve it. They deserve some laughter after a wonderful win today. Oh, still doesn't top that video with Rabiot trying to go to United. No, please no. Listen to me.
Let me tell you something.
Oh my goodness. Yes. Oh my goodness. Anyway, that's Who Won Calcio Tour this week. While Frank is typing that up, again, shout out to all the Napoli fans who made it over to NYC for the watch party, as well as the Milanisti who made it out to the Boston watch parties on Paramount Plus. Shout out to Alfredo from Azzurri TV as well. Everyone in the chat, obviously. And then last thing I'm going to say is our website's live now. We're still going to write some stuff to it occasionally to keep up, keep checking back and see what we add in there in terms of articles and stuff like that. But it's up there live and it's a work in progress. So bear with us, but go enjoy it.
Yep.
SerieSitdown.com.
Excellent. SerieSitdown.com. Definitely go there. And putting a bow on this edition of Serie Sit Down, you can find us on our own channel on Apple Podcasts and SoundCloud. You can find us on Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever there's podcasts. There's Serie Sit Down. At Serie Sit Down on Twitter or Instagram with any comments, questions, thoughts. If you are watching us for the first time here on this video, on this YouTube channel, and you enjoyed the content especially, please drop a like. It helps us a lot. Also subscribe. That's important to us too. And hit that notification bell, because then you'll get notifications from us when we are going live or if we did a video drop on this channel. So check that out there. We are all over the place. So we don't have anything till next week. I think we convene. I'm going to say next Wednesday night, the 15th, if you're game, because next Sunday night's the Super Bowl, and next Tuesday night is Valentine's Day, and
we want to be married. Do we want to stay married?
Yeah, I want to stay married. So
15th sounds good to me.
Yeah, so we will be back with you on Wednesday, February 15th. This way we will have gotten, I'm sure there's a Serie A team playing in Champions League that week. It'll give us a chance to recap those games. Let me see here. Not on.
Thanks for joining us, Eduardo.
Milan play on Valentine's Day against Tottenham. So on Wednesday the 15th, we'll be able to review Milan's game, talk about the Europa and conference games that involve the Serie A teams, as European football will be back by the time that we are back on the air with you. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Chat, thank you, Eduardo. Glad to have you with us.
Welcome.
Don't be a stranger. Come back again soon. And George has been a lifer, and George can tell you a lot of good things and a lot of bad things about us.
He's an OG.
He is an OG, that's for sure. So, but want to thank you all for taking the time to listen to us. For Richard, I am Frank. As always, tell your paisans about us. Ciao.